there, it's Sue Wilson, and I have the lovely pansy square that we're going to be showing today. And we're going to be using the triple column background too, so I'll show you how you can make that into a square. And just to show you the dies in the packaging from our frames and tags, the Pansy Flower square. And this is the triple column background. Okay, so I'll go ahead with the background first. So I have gone ahead and cut the background, and this is what it looks like as it is. But because I wanted it to be a square, I'm going to bring in my little paper cutter here, and I'm going to just use these two little spots to line up on the edge and cut that in half. Okay, I find it's easier to do it this way rather than trying to cut the two halves separately. So what I do is I line them up together just so they're exactly even. There we go. And I'm going to bring it in right in this little spot here, kind of a niche going in. And I'm just going to put that right on the edge of my paper cutter and cut that. Okay, we don't need that. So I'm going to pop it upside down, put it back together, and bring in a little bit of just some Scotch tape here. Just line it up straight. And put a couple pieces right over the center back here. I'll do one more. All right. So now I've got a backing piece that I've done just with some black and white layers, matted up, a little bit of mounting foam, and we're going to just bring in some double-sided tape. We'll pop that on the back, and that will be a pretty background for our flower square. So whenever you have a die that is perhaps a rectangle and you don't want to use it as that, you can always cut these down and put them back together. It's not a problem. Very, very easy to do. A little bit of my tape was showing right there. Put that in situ. Now you can put a couple little pearls on there just to hide that. Let me see, there's our scissors. And I'm just going to pop a little 5mm pearl right on that little cut area. Oop, let's try that again. And there, I don't think I missed the glue on that one. There we go, try that again. Okay, so that's ready to go. So I'm going to set this to the side. Now, the next thing I want to show you is the pansy. So what I'm going to do now is a kind of a cool technique for if you want to color in behind a die cut. So I'm taking two pieces of card, stacking them on top of each other. I'm going to bring in the pansy square here with the inner and outer die and tape this into place. Just get that centered, like that, and like this. Okay, pick up both pieces. Let me get underneath both of those. I'm going to bring in my cutting plate here, put my top plate on it. And what we're going to do is just run it through one time. You don't want to go forward and back for this technique. All right. Now, what I do is pick up both pieces. Okay. I flip it over and I check to see whether I've got any areas that look like they've cut through completely. And it kind of does. So what I do is just put a little bit of tape, single-sided tape, across the back before I go any further. And just make sure none of those are going to fall through completely. There we go, and maybe one more just to catch that edge. Okay, so now what I've got is the top piece cuts out completely around the edge, and peel these apart, and you can use the edge of the die sometimes for this, and just sort of move these extra bits off the top. So those are from the first die cut, the fall away pieces. Okay, there we go. Now what I've got is a really nice outline of the picture and a really nice cut piece with all the pieces removed. Let's get that last little guy out there. Okay, so what I want to do is bring in some of my distress markers here. I've got mustard seed, crushed olive, picked raspberry, forest moss, and spiced marmalade. So what I'm going to do is just do a quick color job. I'm going to start with my crushed olive, and I'm just going to color in the leaves here. Just do a quick, really quick job. It doesn't matter if you go over the edges a little bit. Okay. There we go. Color that one in. And you can see I'm not doing a particularly perfect job of it. That's not a problem at all. There we go. I'm going to bring in the forest moss just to do a little bit around the edges here. Just kind of give it a little bit of a highlight. There we go. All the way around the edges. In the veins a little bit. You can do that. I can bring in a little bit of the mustard seed to sort of get a lighter tone in there if I prefer. Sort of blends it. In fact, I'll go in with the mustard seed around the center of the pansy, and I'm just going to color it wildly around those center sections a little bit. Okay. Like that. I'm going to bring in a bit of the spice marmalade to add a little more color to that. Because pansies aren't usually one color, they're usually several colors. There we go. You can even put a little bit out here around this. In fact, even maybe a little bit there. I'm going to bring in the picked raspberry to give it a brighter color towards the edges. There we go. Quick job. I've got one I've colored just a tiny bit nicer we can use. And you can just sort of see how easy that is. And you can bring in a bit more of that color if you prefer. Totally your call. Add that in. Okay, so now if you want, you can do a little bit more shading. I've got one I've done earlier so you can see the color's a little more intense, but it's still not colored in what I would call a beautiful method. I haven't spent a lot of time blending or anything like that. That's part of this technique. So what you want to do is take and just coat it with a bit of spray glue. I'm going to pop that into my tweezers. I've got a spray box under here. All right, so it's nice and sprayed there. I'm going to take the original one that I cut, lay it over the top, just line it up with the pattern. And that's why you don't have to worry about going over the lines, because that will hide any imperfections you had. Give it a good press down. There we go. Make sure it's nice and stuck. Okay, I'm going to bring in a piece of copy paper. Put that underneath it, and I've still got a couple bits, I'll tell you what. Just so it doesn't go under it, you want to make sure it's nice and stuck down for the next step. So I'm just going to use my pokey tool to get all these little pieces attached. There we go. And bring in some Frosted Sparkle Glitterbitz. So what this will do is give you a lovely sparkle over the top, but it will sort of tone down and smooth out some of the coloring too. But you've got enough wild color there with the different colors to really pop through that glitter as well. Isn't that pretty? Okay, put this back. There we go. Set that aside. I'm going to bring my card back in. So now I've got a really nicely colored one here, and what I've done is I've made a double stitched square frame here to go around it. So I'm going to just pop the mounting foam off the back, and because I've got a little bit of glitter there, what I want to do is bring in some glue, add that around the edge just to make sure that it's going to stay nicely. There we go. And that'll give me a little bit of a chance to kind of wiggle it into place too. Bring this over, seat that right over the top of it. That looks pretty good. Give that a second. I can bring this in. I'll tell you what, I'll use a little bit of mounting foam right in the middle here. And I can seat that in the very center of that background. There you go. Isn't that a lovely card? And you've just made your background to fit whatever you need it to fit in a square. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Our YouTube channel has so many more for you to watch. And you can follow me on Instagram too at Sue Wilson Crafter.